Alright, so I'm a big moron. So I just went through and filmed like a 40-minute video going through all of my steps on how I master my tracks when I'm doing like work with vocals and recording. I ended the video, I was converting the files, and then I realized that I didn't have the phantom power turned on my condenser microphone. So fun fact, if I hold this up, I am using the Scarlett Solo Focusrite DI, and yeah. If I hold it up, you see it's got the input for a microphone, input for instrument, and then the master controls over here. And when you're using a condenser microphone like this one, it's a Sterling Audio condenser mic, for great for vocals and stuff. You have to use what's called phantom power because these microphones aren't powered on their own. They don't have like a switch or anything like that, or they just don't hold power on their own. So usually phantom power is indicated, if you see, by like the 48V, that's 48 volts. I did not turn that on, so I just spoke for 43 minutes and gave a tutorial, and you can't hear me at all. So I'm about to go through and rewatch everything that I did and record myself talking about it. So here we go. So basically what I'm going to be doing is showing you guys my step-by-step process of what I go through to master vocal recordings. That surprised me the first time. I forgot that I added that little jazz chord in, so pop off to me. So basically when I'm mastering my vocals, so I pulled up the master tracks here, which is, if you just hold down, if you press the X key on your keyboard, that's the hot command, it pulls these up. And then there's different plugins that you can choose for each of your tracks. All of the blue tracks on the bottom are the vocal tracks. And when I'm mastering my vocals, I go through kind of 4-5-ish different steps. Oh yeah, so if I wanted to choose a plugin or click on, for instance, compression, I would go to one of those little side drop-down menus and select whichever plugin that I wanted. So we're going to do compression first. So basically compression equalizes the levels of volume and intensity in your recording. So like if one part of the recording is too quiet, it'll like boost it. If one part of the recording is too loud, it'll limit it. And it's set to like a specific threshold. so that you don't go above or below that threshold. So basically the gist of compression is that it makes your track or your recording sound more consistent volume wise, which is great for my voice because I tend to be on the very quiet side. Okay, this is without compression. This is with. So you hear that it gives it a little bit of a boost, like a bit more of a presence. That's why compression is great when it levels out the recording, and it's great for my voice, since I'm more on the soft side. Now if you go to the drop down menu, you can copy and paste different compression presets in. Like if you have another preset plugin opened on a different track and you want the exact same setting, you can copy and paste it. And then at the bottom there's options that you can go with for different instruments or voices, and then different tools. So we want voice, and usually I go with the classic vocal, or for this one I went with natural vocal. Both of them work very nicely. And then you can adjust the threshold. You can also adjust the input and output gain, so how intense the signal going in is and how intense the signal coming out is. I don't mess with those things a whole lot. Usually everything is set to something that sounds good to me. Alright, so we've got compression down. Now we're going to be moving on to EQ. So EQ is basically manipulating frequencies, usually either eliminating or boosting certain frequencies. So here's the EQ that I have for this track already pulled up. So I believe I'm gonna play it without the EQ and then play it with it. Same with the compression, like I did, just to show you the difference in sound. And usually I use EQ to boost the lower frequencies of my voice because my voice is so light and airy, but then it's always a battle because I use like the low cut filter, which is on there right now, to eliminate like background noise and like white noise from living in the depths of the basement. So it's always like, do I want to eliminate all of the noise and make my voice sound like an alien, or do I want to sound normal and still have a little bit of background noise? It's always a fight. So here it is without it. But basically you notice that it's a little bit thinner when the EQ is on because it's eliminating those bottom frequencies, which is just something you'll run into. It's not gonna sound perfect. Professionals will make it sound perfect. Yeah, so basically that bottom curve, it's called a low cut or a high pass filter, which we'll get into, is eliminating those lower frequencies, and those small curves in the middle are eliminating some of the higher ones, and I kind of just dragged them and figured it out by ear. And so now we're going to be getting into different kinds of EQ filters that you can put on. So there's the low cut / high pass, which is where it's curving basically it's allowing the lower frequencies to come through. There's also a high cut and low pass filter, which it does the opposite. Then there's a high shelf or a low shelf, which blocks certain frequencies above that line. So that one that's highlighted on the top, that's an example of a shelf filter. And then those curves that are in the middle, you can manipulate. You can make them as wide or as narrow as you want, and in either direction. Those are called bands, and those are used more to eliminate or enhance specific frequencies, bands of frequencies. Now here's with the high pass. So it becomes much brighter and more nasally, and also like there's no background noise. It's almost like you're on the phone. And then here comes the low pass. This one's almost like you're underwater or something. There's the shelf. So you're getting a lot of the rasp in my voice. And then here's just a random band. It's fun stuff. And then so basically what I do with EQing, I find something in the middle. So I find whatever sounds the best, eliminates as much background noise as possible while making my voice sound natural and boosted. So now our next step is pitch correction, which I don't use all the time, but it is a good thing to use. You should use it more as a tool to enhance what's the beauty that's already there in the vocals, rather than using it as a crutch. A lot of people overuse it. Don't make yourself sound like Cher, although you can if you want. And then also on the other end of that, a lot of people crap on people for using it, like, oh, you're not a real artist if you use pitch correction. It's okay to use it, but use it more as a tool, not as your crutch. Don't let it do the work for you. That's why it's important to get like lots of takes and also comping vocals and stuff like that together out of all of those good takes. And also, like, too much of it could just suck the life out, and you don't want that. Sometimes those little like imperfections or little, things, they give you your unique sound. Sorry, and here I was saying I learned that from let me pause this. I learned that from a very good YouTube music producer on YouTube named Chris Lipe. He's very smart. I enjoy watching his videos. And he brought that up in a video one time about pitch correction not being used as a crutch, used as a tool, and not letting it overtake your artistry. I think that's very powerful. So here I've pulled up the it's under the editing scissors icon. It just pulls up a bigger version of the audio file. We need to activate the flex tool, which is that little sideways hourglass, to turn on our pitch correction. So you're going to turn it on, and then make sure that you try not to touch anything or accidentally click on anything, because you might mess something up, because there's other flex functions like slicing and time stretching. But it's okay, you can always undo it. So if you hit that drop down menu, you'll hit pitch correction, and then it'll take a second to load. because it's analyzing your audio information to give you approximate pitches. Oh, flex pitch, sorry. And then, if you scroll down, I adjust my screen in a second here. Yeah, see, it gives you those approximate pitches. And you see there's some space in them. That means that they don't all line up perfectly, which is okay because the track sounds fine. If I want to alter the pitch, make it more accurate, then I'm going to grab onto the middle circle of each thing and drag it so that it's closer to being correct. So I can drag it up or down. I drag it up here for a second, up a half step, but we actually want to go down. Because see how the gap is getting wider? Oh, and now it's a totally different pitch. So now we're right. It sounds weird too. It's kind of funny. A little uncanny valley. The rest of it seemed okay. And now I can also change the level of vibrato, which is the wavy lines, by dragging the circle on the bottom that's in the middle. So if I want to make it really like narrow, I'm going to drag the circle down. And it's going to make it sound pretty unnatural. And I've made the mistake of doing that before. I'm like, why leave the natural vibrato in there? What was I thinking? Usually I try to do something a little bit in the middle so that it's not wavering too much away from the pitch, but it's also not like robotic. Oh, and I'm not even going to get into this too much, but you can also alter the tail of the beginnings and endings of each pitch to connect them more, but that was not really working out for me. So yeah, that's how pitch correction works. Now we're going to move on. I'm going to demonstrate de-essing a little bit, but I don't really use it on this example because I don't have any hard consonants in this session at all. So when you use the de-esser, you can alter the threshold of like the frequencies that you want to eliminate, like the certain limit. Then frequency, you can alter that, and then in the middle you can alter the amount of reduction. So if you you could set a limit to how much is reduced. I know for me, I have a lot of my S's tend to be very crisp, like S's and P's and T's, and C's like cuz. And when you're recording, a lot of times also a spit guard, like one of those little foam things, those help a lot, but I do not own one. Now, lastly, we're going to go to Reverb, which is under the same little side tab. You can find it. There's a bunch of them that you can choose from, but I like to use the Space Designer because there's just so many different options you can get with it, and it's very user-friendly. So this is what it looks like. Same thing with compression and EQ. You can copy and paste presets into it. So here, the preset that came up, we have a pretty long reverb. It says it's 1.8 seconds long. That's pretty long. Dry means the amount of original signal we're getting in, so without the reverb, and then wet is how much of the output we're getting, how much of the reverb signal we're getting. And then you can alter the different spread amounts, alter the input amount, but I don't do that a whole lot. I just mess with dry and wet mostly. So now I'm going to compare the two. So that's with it. And then here I'm altering the wet and dry. Usually, the amount of reverb or wet signal that you want, I think usually depends on the circumstances. Like for lead vocals, I usually want more of an attack, like wet will be a little bit less. But for like harmonies and back-end vocals, like those are meant to be more surrounding and like kind of almost whimsical in my opinion. So I use a little bit more of the wet reverb signal. And then also a cool thing about reverb, at least that I know about, well, you can do it in most reverb plugins, I think, is that you can actually do a live recording of like you doing a hand clap or snapping or some kind of sound in any environment. So if I wanted to capture the reverb of like a church, I could do that. So you can record and then you can somehow analyze and copy those that reverb from that live recording that you got and put it into digital form and then copy it and paste it onto, like, use the reverb for other recordings. You could save it as a preset. I don't remember how to do it. I had someone show me how to do it, but I've never tried it before. But that's just something that's cool. So yeah, you can copy and paste, like I said. And then there's a lot of different options that you could go through, different sizes of halls and rooms, and different effects. So first, I'm going to choose kind of a really long one. Some of these are insanely long. So here, the one I'm choosing is almost 12 seconds. It's so long that it starts stacking harmonies. That's cool. Then you can use smaller reverbs, which are great like for drums or more closer sound or feeling. And then, let's see, what do I get into? Yeah, so, and I take forever to look this up and to explain it, but basically what plate reverb is it's an old recording reverb technique where you would like rattle metal sheets, I think in some kind of machine or something, I don't remember exactly, and you would capture that reverb and then you could like copy it and match it up to whatever you were recording. And then gate reverb is like the Phil Collins drum reverb. I know we have a close family member in our family loves him. It's basically kind of reverse. Like usually reverb is like you have the sound and then it's kind of like ambience afterward. But with gate reverb, it's you have like the wall of sound and then it cuts off like right at the end, and it's not like a slow fade out either. Like it clearly cuts the sound off before the volume's able to dissipate. And I'm gonna demonstrate those in a second because I'm an idiot. All this negative self-talk. So here's plate reverb. So you can't hear too much of a difference. You could probably hear it better on other instruments. So for the gate reverb, I decided that a drum sample would be better, so I'm just plugging that up really quick. There it is. So there's without. And then I turn it back on. Yeah, so that's how gated reverb works. Very Phil Collinsy. I don't listen to him really. Maybe I should. So I think that's really all that I had to show you guys, but that's basically the gist of what I go through when I'm mastering vocals and mixing and mastering my vocal tracks. About the same when I go through instrument tracks too. Sometimes there's some different things. But yeah, that's the basics. There's kind of a lot of stuff. So if you have any questions, or if there's anything else you want to see, or anything you want me to go with detail about, just let me know. I'll see you in the next one.